you really don't have a grasp for what that's like to play those long sets until you're actually doing it. And so for years I had gone up and I'd gaslighted and I'd made everyone happy and clap, and then they leave, and it just boosted my ego and I loved it. But it wasn't until that moment I was like, this is real work. And like, this guy's winning not because he's great at anything, but because he wanted to put in the work and he can entertain this crowd. And that was such a light bulb moment to be like, all right, I got to chase that.
Welcome to Curious Goldfish, a podcast community where music and curiosity come together through interesting conversations with the music makers of our world. I'm your host, Jason English. You can find Curious Goldfish on all the major podcast and social media platforms. And of course, we have all of our content on our website, curiousgoldfish.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Curious Goldfish. You know, we talk a lot on this podcast about what it actually takes to make it as an independent musician today. Everyone sees the viral clips and the overnight success stories, but the reality is usually a decade of grinding in bars, trading gear, and funding your own dream note by note. My guest today has done exactly that. He spent years working as an electrician and playing 4-hour cover sets just to clear enough gas money to get to the next gig. He has been jammed up, he's made mistakes, and he's learned how to fix up broken guitars just to flip them for lunch money. But through all of it, he kept his hands on the wheel. And now he's finally on the doorstep of releasing his debut album called 15 Seconds of Fame. It's a record that's been 10 years in the making. It's entirely self-funded and tracked with some of the best players and Grammy-winning engineers in the business. We talk about the hustle, his brand new single Concrete Cowboy, and why he embraces the chaos of the road. And what happens when you finally look at the mirror and ask, why not me? So now from Nashville, Tennessee, here's Matthias Lamparter. Let's dive in.
Matthias, happy Wednesday here in May. So nice to meet you, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me.
So congrats. Your debut album is weeks away as we record this in mid-May of 2026. 15 Seconds of Fame. I mean, how long have you been dreaming about this, thinking about this, and ruminating over this?
There are songs that are going on this that were written and were being played out 10 years ago. It was kind of one of those things. It was like, all right, if we're just going to do it, like, let's do it right. Like, it's already been so long. Let's kind of start over with some stuff, kind of wipe things from where they were and go into it and like really get the best engineers and the best people you could get to work with to help come visions to life. Because I mean, there's a lot of songs on here that were recorded multiple times at other studios before the cuts that you'll hear on the album. And, that's just kind of the process of doing that. So yeah, it takes quite a while, especially like paying for it with music. It hasn't been like a crowdfunded thing. It hasn't been investors. It's been me going out and playing and singing guitar and making money and making a living and trying to pay for something. So it takes a little bit longer, I think, when you're doing it the honest way.
Yeah. I know you've grown up playing music since that. Do you remember the time when you're like, okay, I'm going to make an album one day? Do you remember what that felt like and what it means to be on the doorstep of that?
So I tried the first time when I was 18. I really did. I went in and I was like, there was this really cool studio and it was like a friend of a family of a buddy. And, it was great. He was an old roadie that had a home studio, but it was really nice, like all racks everywhere and Pro Tools. And it was like my first experience being in there doing my own music. I'd been lucky enough to pop into some studios over the years. I traded a lot of guitars. Even growing up on like Craigslist, I'd buy and sell instruments. And that led to me in working at a pawn shop. And so I got to be around a lot of studios. So even back at 18, I tried to do it. But the deal that I got was actually I helped the guy move out in trade for him recording an EP. It wasn't a full album, it was an EP. He was moving out in like 3 days and he had no help. And so I was like, me and my buddy were like, all right, let's do it. But we didn't realize the time it takes. We were a 7-piece band at the time. We had a fiddle player, keys, drums, acoustic, electric. I mean, we were doing it at the time. We were going by the name Tabor, which is the street I grew up on, was Mount Tabor Road. So that was the first attempt, and it just wasn't enough time. So it was like I kind of had this stuff, and I listened to it in the car a million times, but I was like, 48 hours is not enough time to cut an EP. I don't care how good the guy is. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, and I'd like to read a lot of these parts. Coming from that and then I during COVID, I tried to do it like a self-produced album, and I had a lot of time, so it was like, all right, I'm really going to get in here, and I'm gonna learn a lot more than I know, and I'm gonna try and do a thing with a buddy, and we got it there. It was a 6-pack. It was called Bush, like the beer, and it was "Bitch You Should Have Came Home," which was an album about getting cheated on, and that was just what it was. But it just the quality wasn't there, and the things weren't there. And I know people were always like, "You just got to put stuff out. You got to put stuff out." But I'm like, man, in a world so busy as today, to get an opportunity to have people to come and listen to an album, you really only get that once before it's like, okay, that's what you do and that's who you are. Even if you met them out and you played music, like I went and saw so many bands over the years and went and listened to their album, and it just wasn't quality. And I grew up in an age of listening to great records my whole life. So it's not as fun to listen to those. Like I hated seeing a band live and they were way worse on the album. I don't mind if you're a little looser when you're live. That's one thing, but it can't be the other way around. And so I just didn't want to be that guy. So it's taken this long to meet the connections and get to a place where I could afford to hire, producers and things that have Grammys and all kinds of stuff, and, do the thing, spend the money to get in the room and learn from that process. And so, it's taken forever, but I feel like I got a degree throughout the whole thing just for my help and learning along the way. I've been very hands-on with the whole process.
So 15 seconds of fame. I've heard of 15 minutes of fame, but 15 seconds. So that's a little bit more accelerated. I guess, is that a nod to
It's a nod to
people's
the world
attention span these days?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's like, to get 15 minutes, I mean, I couldn't, I don't think it's without getting it out there first. It just, it was kind of a joke. It just made more sense. I was like, hey, let's get the best of the best and we'll go make our little blip. And if our blip, blips, it's cool. But for me, it was about doing the album and doing it right and playing with the players that I wanted to play with and working with all my friends and having everybody that I've worked with that I could get into a studio session. We threw them on some backing vocals, or we threw them here just that way everybody could get in on this thing, which, makes it all more fun. A lot of cool stuff I'm excited to share on there.
I'm not trying to compare what I do to what you do, which is way more cool than what this little podcast that I have. But it's a little bit interesting because when you talk about streaming and getting someone's attention, keeping it for 15 seconds or 15 minutes, right? It's actually a pretty cool thing when you think about it, given all the options that people have to put their attention towards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even in music, there's the radio, there's YouTube, there's all the streaming platforms, there's your record player, all these options, and then there's television and movies and Netflix and things like that. So the fact that like someone would take time, even if it is just 15 seconds, but to actually listen to a song and like for me, listen to a few minutes of a conversation that I had with someone like you, it's actually like, oh my gosh, that's actually kind of amazing.
Yeah,
I
have accepted that I'm a harsh flipper when it comes to music. Like if I don't like it, I will flip it almost immediately. And I don't think about that because, you could be a musician, but you're still a person in the car listening to Spotify. You know what I mean? Like you're just going to flip, like, I don't like this. Bam, next one. And I don't expect any more grace for myself than I give those people, So that was kind of the whole thing. And, I think it's funny. But also for me, if I do like your stuff and I hear it and I click on it, I want to listen to it for the next 30 minutes on a car ride. Like I drive around a lot and I commute and I do all these things and we travel. And so it's like, if I put on an artist and I find an artist that I'm excited about, my favorite thing is to be able to listen to him for a half hour or an hour or whatever like that and not think about it. I don't want to get plugged into a bunch of other stuff. Like I'm trying to listen to this artist, And so if you're lucky enough to get my attention, not that it's like, golden attention, but I just think as a normal person,
right,
I want that. So I wanted to give that to people. So it's like, I really didn't even want to put singles out. Like I didn't want to do the singles. I wanted to kind of just like start fresh and drop a whole album. And, it just seemed to be that like I couldn't really have the conversations I wanted to have with people as a guy who had an album coming out soon that you couldn't hear any of it. That's the problem with that whole thing. So I was like, all right, we got to play the game a little bit. We're going to do some singles. Not to give too much away of, the sounds and things are on the record, but I'm pretty excited for it. The response has been great with If I'm Able and Concrete Cowboy. So I'm really, really happy to get these next things out.
All right. So if you had to put one word, two words on the theme of 15 seconds of fame, how would you describe it? Is there a theme? prominent theme?
For me, I'll be real. There was probably a point a couple years ago when I started recording. It was the first time I went into a studio to do If I'm Able. I'd done it myself, and I went into a studio session, and I was talking with an old friend of mine who had a really great place, and we were doing it, and we were kind of having this conversation, and it was like, why not me? You know? And I know that may seem crazy, but it's like, why not? Like, I'll work hard. I work harder than anybody I know. So like, I'll go do whatever. Why would I not think that I could have my moment and just be a background guy for everybody else? And for me, it was always like an ego thing. I love playing guitar. I didn't want to deal with the being the guy in charge is not the fun part. You know what I mean? When it comes to being a musician, you can go and just party and play guitar or drums or bass for an artist, especially in Nashville. It's great because like you don't have to worry about anything. You're getting a paycheck, free drinks, usually food, whatever you want. It's great. But when you're kind of running the show and you don't have a budget for a manager or a tour manager or any of these things, and it's like, all right, I've got my truck and my trailer and I've loaded up the best musicians I could find, and we're going to go out and we're going to fulfill this contract that I found for a show, and we're going to go play the state fair this weekend, and we're going to slip as many of my songs into this set as I can. And like, that's an art that people don't talk about a lot. Like, that's just kind of how it works if you want to be sustainable, and being sustainable is cool. But I think for me, it was like, why not? That's the short answer. It's like, why not me? I'll have my 15 seconds.
I want to ask you about the live shows and working hard, and you said that all funded this. You didn't get investors and things like that. So I just finished a survey of it's almost 600 people, about 400 fans, about 150 independent artists, and about 30 or so like industry professionals. And I was texting people and emailing my listeners and things like that. I was like, hey, I'm doing this survey, and it was about AI, and it was about streaming. But like the layers of it was fan engagement. How do musicians like yourself make money? How are super fans real, and what do they look like, and what are their behaviors, right? And so what was one of the takeaways of the survey is the super fans, which are like spending $500 or more a year on music, whether that's streaming services, concerts, merch, or whatever. They find their favorite artists not through social media. They find them through concerts. And what's interesting is because a lot of artists think, well, it's the reverse. It's like, okay, if I am a content creator and I just post, like that's how I'm gonna build my fan base. But it's actually the opposite. It sounds like you're doing what the data sort of reinforced. Have you realized that, and was that intentional?
I honestly, I just kind of always never believed in it, if I'm being real about it.
What, the social media stuff?
Yeah, like I don't know. Like, I kind of got to a point at a young age where I was lucky enough to see a lot of people that were making a living playing music in bars and stuff like that, and like playing the game. Like, go do your thing, but like, you're there to entertain a crowd. And like, for me, I wanted to be an entertainer more than a musician. Like, I just like making people laugh. I like making people dance. I like interacting with rooms of people. It's what I kind of do. And a lot of people don't look at it like that. And I think for me, I kind of had to reverse engineer the whole thing. It was like I saw people doing a level that was lower than I thought the entry level was, if that makes sense. Like, you see like, famous people when you're growing up or whatever, and you're like, how do you get from here to here? Oh, you just get lucky, and they had this big break, and they had whatever. And then you also hear at the same time, like, the 10-year overnight success story. It's like, well, there's no fill-in for that. So you just kind of start finding people that you look up to and seeing how they're making their world happen. And, if you're lucky enough to like get to hang around people and learn and try and help out, you can be around for some great conversations at the end of the day sometime. Like, maybe I was helping somebody load something. I've helped friends that I met one time that I knew were great go help a load piano and stuff like that. Like, I'll just do things to get in the room and have the conversation. For me, it was like, oh, cool. You can make a living at this without being famous, without having some internet following, without having whatever. Like, there's a million ways to, like I mentioned, like state fairs and things like that. Like, you can go do those. They're a couple $1,000 contracts. You got to go through the city and you got to get these things. I do a lot of like private events. And I go, and like, I kind of am pitched at a point now where they know who they're getting. But before, it was just like, oh, you'll be the entertainment for the night. So it was mainly all covers and going and doing the thing and building and learning how to work it. And then from there, it went to slipping in the originals, and like, okay, is the room still dancing when I play this song? Cool. Well, we'll put that one in this folder and we'll put that in the maybe category. And doing that a lot and like building and like learning a room and learning how to sing other songs that aren't yours, I feel like is a great thing to do. And there's a lot of TikTok musicians and things like you're talking about that do covers. And I think that's great. I think that going
Right.
out and learning how to sing your favorite songs and learning how to control as a musician what you love about them is very crucial to be able to explore what you hear in your head and make it happen on paper, you know? Um, and I think it's great. Like if you do exactly what you've always wanted to do and you made 2 songs and you put them out and they went viral and you have a following that like follows you to the ends of the earth from that, but that's great. But also like the moment they don't like you, what do you do?
Right.
And I don't want to live like that. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if I do something that I don't want a fan base to turn or like whatever, there's a way. Like I've repaired instrument, like being a musician and all the side things that go into that are just awesome. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people have chased a thing, like a carrot on a stick almost for a long time. Like I don't have a big following. I have a couple thousand followers on Instagram as far as that, but all those people that are on there, I wouldn't say they're super fans or people I know, but like I genuinely know and support
Mm.
like all the people and vice versa that are on my list of people on Facebook and Instagram. I think I got like 5,000 on Facebook followers and a couple more thousand than that or less than that on Instagram. But
Yeah.
they help. I've gotten so many offers and positions and cool gear. People will just text me about instruments. Hey, I've got this thing and I know that you'd like this. Here's some pictures. Cool. And you can take that and that sells you to this guy. And that guy needs a band for this. So they're going to book you now because you do that. And you can,
Yeah.
there's a whole world, outside that I've kind of existed in. And that's how I've paid for all this because like, how do you just sit and wait for the internet to decide you're famous? You know what I mean? Like at a certain point,
That's a great point. I mean, you said the word sustainable earlier. That's the perfect word because a lot of the likes and the things with the algorithm, it's so fleeting. But it's cool to see like you're building something a little bit more sustainable because it's built on a foundation of people that actually have heard you live and
Yeah.
and support you. I guess was there someone stick out to you that set the example for you? That was a good model for you.
There's a lot of people. I would say one example, like I didn't even know about like I'd done stuff around Nashville and like been down to Broadway and all that, but when I was about 21, I just turned 21, and my neighbor's brother-in-law needed a guitar player last minute. His guitar player was stuck on a flight in Canada and they were going and playing all the Tin Roofs. Now, I was not a big country music fan. I didn't know that style. I came from like punk rock bands and things like that. So but I also just played blues and things like that, and jams a lot around town and enjoyed just improv guitar, if you will. And so they were like, yeah, we leave at 9 a.m. for like a week. So, and it's $300 a night. And I was like, and you're paying for everything on the way there. And at the time I was an electrician and I was playing music and I was, I played on the street and all kinds of stuff. Like I used to go down, see my girlfriend and play on the street just to get money to drive back home from Chattanooga. You know what I mean? Like I used to play on Broadway down there until they'd make you move or whatever. And I did it a lot. I played for anybody who would listen really. So finding out, oh, here's $1,200 for 4 nights and we're going to be gone like a week. It's like, dude, I've been making $11 an hour, working 80 hours a week as an electrician, electrical union, like as an apprentice, and to go do, I was like, wait, so all I got to do is learn chicken fried and I can go do this. And I only have to work for 4 hours a day and I can drive around and I can work on my music and I can write and I can get paid to travel and have more stories to write about and more inspiration and all that. And it was like, oh, great. And Wes did the thing. It was like, he would give the band a break and he would do a set in the middle for about 30 minutes. That was all his original stuff. And he had a little following. They would show up to all these places and they would play. And all these girls from different towns, I ain't talked to the guy in 10 years, but I'm sure, he was, it was crazy. It was really cool to go do that.
Who was it?
His name was Wes Cook. But
Wes Cook.
we went and did that. And dude, I botched the whole thing. I didn't know any of this material, but they were like, we just need an electric guitar player on stage. And so I was trying my best, you know what I mean? But a 4-hour set, I'd never done that. I'd only ever done like 30-minute slots here, hour slot, 90 minutes. I'd done stuff like that. I think the farthest I'd pushed it before is one time the city of Murfreesboro booked me to play at Cannonsburg, which is like the old part of town. They had like I think it was Uncle Dave Macon Days.
Oh, yeah.
some like old thing, and
Yeah, he's
he
old timey.
gave me $150 to book 3 bands. Well, I had just seen John Mayer live at Nokia Theater, where he opens up for himself and then plays for himself and does it. And I was like, I need this $150.
Oh,
And
God.
that's exactly what we did. We went down there, burning, all the people out there, and I played an acoustic set. And then it came up, we did a trio, and then I had like the 7-piece come up at the end, and we did a whole other thing. But that's what we needed. We needed the gas money to get. We had booked it was like French Broad River Fest up in Asheville, and or near Asheville, something like that. And like we got like an offer to go up there and play some music and stay. So we needed the gas money to go. So I was like, I'm not booking 2 other bands, dude. But that was the longest I'd ever played before that. So when I got, maybe 3 or 4 months later from that experience, this is back when I was like 21. This is a decade ago, and I got the call for Wes, and I went and did that, and it was like, holy shit. The musicianship, like I knew that players were doing things, but like I popped in and like somebody's buddy or something might be playing downtown when I was younger, and they would take me and I'd hop up and play a song or two, and then you'd leave, but you really don't have a grasp for what that's like to play those long sets until you're actually doing it. And so for years I had gone up and I'd gaslighted and I'd made everyone happy and clap, and then they leave, and it just boosted my ego and I loved it. But it wasn't until that moment I was like, this is real work. And like this guy's winning not because he's great at anything, but because he's willing to put in the work and he can entertain this crowd. And that was such a light bulb moment to be like, all right, I got to chase that. Like, what is it about all those songs that I'd never heard of? I'd never listened to Luke Bryan or any of these people. Like, what is it about this that makes this whole room go nuts? And so it was like, oh, okay, well, here's the crossovers between the genres that I'm familiar in, and here's this. And you kind of just start like mathing the whole thing out. And then from there, it really like affects the way that you create and the language that you speak, But yeah,
That's good stuff. And good for you for putting the work in. I mean, a lot of people are trying to get their 15 minutes through the moment that you can't predict. So
yeah.
You're doing the good work.
Well, I think it's a numbers game too. Statistically, it's like if you go out and you meet 30 people a week and have actual conversations with them, that compounds, And after years of doing that at events and towns, you start seeing the same people and you recognize the patterns of like, okay, this guy was full of shit. This guy wasn't, because he's still around. And so
Right.
in that game, it's like, I think a lot of people don't understand that they want to sit at home and you can't.
Yeah.
I used to sit and wait for someone to knock on my door and want to make me famous.
Yeah.
Everyone won't say that, but like that's kind of what you're doing when you're just playing at your house all the time and thinking that you're awesome. Like you might be a great guitar player, but if you're just sitting around for yourself and your cat, it's not really. You could still be a great guitar player, like that's objective, but you're not going to have a break or anything like that. And the internet can supplement that, and I think it's worked out well for people. I think that people have crafted themselves and defined their artistry in a way that they don't know where it would go on a stage. They don't know whatever, and that doesn't mean it's not a beautiful piece of music. And it's cool that they can share that and get a following at the same time. And I think social media is great for that. But
So you mentioned a couple of the singles, "If I'm Able," and then you mentioned "Concrete Cowboy." Talk me through the inspiration for "Concrete Cowboy" and what the underlying message of that is, because I think that's the most recent single, right?
Yeah, man. The song it's one of those things where it's like, all right, this happens, this is who you are, this is what's going on. And I think everybody who's ever like kind of gone out and had fun to a degree knows like you can be doing really well, but like you kind of just get sucked into some situations sometimes, and it's like, all right, well, what do we do with this? Like, do you be mad about it, or do you just work it out and accept like, okay, it's not exactly my fault, but it doesn't mean I still don't have to fix this. And so like the message of the song is, I don't want this life, it wants me. And it's like, I think you kind of just have to go with the flow a little bit and work it out and then dance it out, because you've got the hook there. It's like, I don't want this life, it wants me. And then you have like this funky Latin thing. It's like, dude, just groove it out. You're going to be fine. Get on to the next thing. Like, it doesn't really matter. As long as you believe in something. And I think that's another line. It's like, oh, mama, don't preach that rapture. I still believe. It's like, just because things happen doesn't mean I'm not trying my best and I'm not trying for whatever. And I think everybody's felt that at a certain point. So I think that's why people resonate with that when they hear that song. I've had great feedback on that.
Yeah, that's a great lyric about the rap sheet. That's a good one. We're not going to go into it, but people make mistakes, make poor decisions, things happen. And, it's like how you respond, right? And it sounds like you've responded from some of those
They recover, man.
decisions in a good way. And it actually reminds me, there's two of my previous guests. One is Gary Nichols, who used to be on the Steel Drivers, and then Louis the Singer, who's this guy from Fort Worth.
We opened up, I want to say, for Gary Nichols one time. I was playing with my buddy's band down in Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, he's Muscle Shoals guy.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah, so Gary's got a crazy story. So that was one of the first interviews I had. And he talks about this whole thing where Chris Stapleton leaves the Steel Drivers. They pick him to replace Stapleton. Can you imagine that? They make this amazing album. It wins a Grammy. And then I think within the year, he almost died of opioid addiction. He ended up in jail, and he had $2 to his name. Right? And to his credit, it's part of his story. Like, he's not trying to hide the scar. He's talking about it, and he's really responded well, and he's doing really well now. But it's really cool how that experience and then the music has just been sort of this therapeutic, assistant to him. And same thing with Louis the Singer, who's out of Fort Worth. But yeah, I mean, I guess how has music helped you sort of navigate some of that experiences?
Dude, I mean, look, I've been in all the spots, man. I was a tourist of this life, if you could say, for a while, without quite understanding all the repercussions of your actions. And I think everybody can relate to that. And I think the legal system, getting jammed up in that, was something that really taught me. It kind of held me straight and narrow more, because I was jammed up for a while, and it was like, I've got to have a good job, I've got to do stuff, but I'm not going to not work on music because I have to go to work to keep paperwork for these people, because I knew the musician life, like the stuff that I'm in now, it's not that I can't handle anything or anything crazy happens now, but like when you're on the road, like you just need to be ready for whatever, and it's just too easy to mess up when you're on probation and stuff like that. And so like that for a long time was the straight and narrow. It's like, all right, I got to sit and I got to work. So what can I do at home to make money? Oh, my friends sold weed, dude. I couldn't even sell weed. Everybody was making all this money. They'd take their paycheck and flip it 4 times, casually sitting on the couch. And I had to figure out, okay, well, let me take this guitar with some broken tuners and fix these. I bought it for 35, so now I can sell it for 85. And I do that 5 times a week. And that's what I had to do. So it was like figuring out how to make something out of nothing will teach you to make anything out of everything. And I think that that's something that either you get it or you don't. Like you could take anything and build something. Like that's what humans are designed to do. And I think that some of us kind of live a life for a long time where we never really have to tap into that. And sometimes when you have to go down and become the not best version of yourself, and then like realize, okay, I need to kind of just get it together a little bit. It can be fun. I think some people don't want to put that work in and like change their lives, but it's like, it doesn't have to be miserable. Like it can be fun. Yeah. Like dieting. It's like, you don't have to just starve yourself. Like you can eat great food if you just go make it fun. I don't know. Like there's always a flip side to me. And I think a lot of the experiences I've been through kind of taught me that. And I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. Well, good for you. A couple more questions. So, you're still so young, even if you've hit 30. I just turned 50 a couple years ago, and I remember me turning 30 felt way more difficult and more daunting than turning 50 for whatever reason. But you're still so young. I guess, where do you think you are as an artist today, and where do you want to be?
Dude, I'm very happy to say that yesterday I genuinely looked at my lady and I asked her, how old am I? Am I 32 or am I 33? I didn't know. I genuinely did not know. I was like, I could do the math right now, but like, because my birthday's coming up at the end of this month. And I was like, I really don't know. It's just been such an awesome 2 years that like, me and another bandmate of mine in another project I've got, Simply Majestic, we have a saying called "It's our birthday life." So, it's kind of like every day's your birthday. Like if you just treat every day with that intensity and that energy, it's not like I'm special, but it's like every day can be a great day. So I think aging and daunting and all these whatever, as I say in one of my songs on the album, I should have been dead by now. There's no way It's crazy. There's just too much stuff that's happened that I've just somehow came out unscathed between wrecks and bullshit and talking shit and all the other things. And I'm I'm very happy for any older that I ever get and all the wisdom along the way at this point. You know?
Yeah. It's all great. It's all gravy. It sounds
Yeah,
like,
dude.
you know.
Like what you
Yeah.
kind of do, dude. I'm not famous. I'm not. I got to play Jimi Hendrix's guitar last week. Okay, I've gotten to like hang out with like people that made the albums I listened to in my room when I was a kid, and all kinds of stuff. Like anything's kind of a bonus at this point for me
Yeah.
because I was an electrician. You know what I mean? Like I've been doing this forever, but it's like you go work in 100-degree rooms all day long, and this is great. I'm cool with it.
That's good.
So I'm enjoying my 15 seconds, if you will.
All right. All right, cool. Well, similar question, but a little bit different lens. So the underlying theme, not of my album, but of this podcast is curiosity. I just think it's so underrated in family life and relationships and corporate world and all the things. I guess at this point in your life and in your career, what are you most curious about?
Honestly, I really want to learn how to like rebuild an entire engine. And
Cool.
I'm randomly curious about this. Like I've always worked on cars to make them work, but my algorithm has started pitching me these like full like the gloves and they're in like a clean shop and everything's perfect. And I'm like, dude, I want to know how to do that. And I'm like, it just drives me crazy that I don't know how that works. So I'm very curious about that right now. And I don't know. I learned how to build like houses and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm always I've got a line of guitars we're putting out right now on another front, dead pedal
Oh,
guitars, and we're doing
what's it called? Sorry.
dead pedal guitars, and we're doing
Okay.
epoxy resin out of like people's weddings and stuff like that, and doing custom orders and making these beautiful, very playable. I just played one on stage for 2 hours the other day, and I'm a guitar player and a collector, so for me having a really awesome guitar to build and be able to have that product is exciting. So, but I think after I kind of get done with all of that, I really want to like buy an engine room, if that makes sense, and just be like, all right, everybody got your gloves on. Let's pull up the YouTube videos and just spend like a summer doing that. It'd be awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. All right. Well, you got to just go out and do more shows and sell merch and do all the things that you're doing. Yeah. So that's awesome, man. Well, Matthias, thanks so much for your time. Good luck. June 10th, I think,
yes, sir.
2026 is the album drop, and wish you the best and hope to see you down the road.
Thanks, man. I had a great time.
All right. Awesome. Take care, man.